ore. The next Hyrule Science video is on its way. It's about rocks. I was busy working on it until I realized, oh yeah, I've never made a video talking about ore deposits. Let's talk about ore deposits. To begin, let's talk about the health of ore deposits. Yes, ore deposits have a health pool. All regular deposits in the game, that being the ones stuck into the ground and not the ones on bosses, we'll get to those in a minute, have precisely 40 health. This might be news to you, considering that hammer-type weapons will break ores in 2 hits or even 1 hit. You can probably see where this is going. Clubs and blades will always deal the appropriate damage towards ore deposits. So for example, a club dealing 5 damage will take 8 hits to break an ore deposit, and a bladed weapon dealing 8 damage will break it in 5 hits. You get the idea. However, hammer weapons have a lot more going on behind the scenes. A one-handed hammer weapon will always do a minimum of 20 damage when hitting ore deposits, which is why lowly rock hammers can break them in 2 hits. Anything past 40 damage will break them immediately. Two-handed hammer weapons, on the other hand, do a minimum of 40 damage, which is why they always break ore deposits in 1 hit. In case you didn't know already, all 3 weapon types, that being one-handed, spears, and two-handed, have a multiplier on them that affects their final damage output, which does apply to ore deposits. So going forward, I will show the maths for these. All two-handed non-hammer weapons will deal flat 50% bonus damage on ore deposits. Like this wooden club, which deals 8 damage to this deposit instead of the advertised 5. As for spears, they basically work the same as one-handed weapons. Sharp and blunt do normal damage, and hammers break them in 2 hits. Also, bows do absolutely nothing. You can stand there and shoot it as many times as you like, and it will not budge. This goes for blades and blunt materials as well, but hammer materials will always one-shot ores, no matter how low the damage is. Shields can also break ores. Club items don't really do anything, but blades fused to shields will do the same damage as the material fused to them, such as this boss Bokoblin horn that deals 10 damage. Hammer materials will always destroy ore deposits, no matter the quality of the shield or the hammer material used. Like materials that can be found out in the wild, such as flowers or fish, ore deposits run on a timer where if you aren't nearby them, they have a 1% chance to spawn every real-life minute played. By the way, when hitting ores, it may feel like the game is slowing itself down for a bit. This is intentional. It's actually the game pausing itself for a few frames, and it only happens with hammer weapons. So if you're ever trying to speedrun gathering a bunch of Zonite or ores, my personal top picks are a bladed one-handed weapon and a bladed spear that deal over 40 damage. Side note, by the way, attack up buffs do work for ore deposits, making sets like the Barbarian outfit the best for mining ores. Okay, let's go over the bosses real quick. Stone taluses can obviously only be damaged by their weak point, which is directly linked to their health. But Froxes, on the other hand, are a little different. Their weak points are not linked to their health pool. Sort of. Froxes always have 5 ore deposits attached to their backs. These all have their own health pool, with each one having a total of 1/5 of the Frox's total health. Dealing damage to one of the ores will also deal damage to the Frox itself, so generally you will kill the Frox when breaking all of the ores. But theoretically, if you were to somehow, break all of the ores without dealing damage to the Frox itself, it theoretically would still be able to survive, and you would have quite a troublesome fight. In terms of damage dealt to the ores of these bosses, one-handed weapons and spears deal 25% more damage with hammers fused to them, and two-handed weapons deal 50% more damage with hammers fused to them. That's why you always hear that little sound effect when using these. Bows will also deal 50% more damage with hammers when fused. Oh, and there's shields too. They also do 50% more damage. Quick little intermission. Do you see that little white box that most annoying YouTubers will tell you to click? Well, I want you to pay attention to it real quick. The one just below the video. Subscribe. Did you see it light up? That's pretty cool and neat. Please subscribe. There's also these rock walls. Yes, I'm aware they are not ore deposits, but they drop ores, so they might as well be. Every type has 48 health, that being the brown, blue, and black variants, as well as the Zonite and Luminous variants. As you might expect, these have some strange health properties to them. I'll put it as bluntly as possible here. Clubs and blades do absolutely nothing. Hammers, on the other hand, do nothing. For brown rock walls, which are the weakest rock walls, all damage with spears and one-handed weapons will be set to 24 damage, meaning that you will always break them in 2 hits with a one-handed weapon or spear, even if it does over 48 damage. Two-handed weapons and bombs will always break these in a single strike. This does include all types of bombs, by the way, like time bombs. Bows with hammers fused to them will also break these in a single hit too, which, I don't know why you do this, but hey, the option is there. With shields, they work the exact same way as two-handed smasher weapons, so everything I say about two-handeds will apply to them. Going forth, I will not mention shields again. The blue boys are a bit tougher, with more specific damage requirements. For one-handed weapons and spears, any damage between 1 and 12 is set to 12 damage, requiring 4 hits to break a part of a wall. Anything past 12 is set to 24 damage, making them break similarly to the previous wall type. For two-handeds, 1 to 24 is the point where you deal 24 damage and 2 hits are required, with anything past 24 instantly breaking the wall. And since they're the second tier of rock walls, it's only fitting that bombs and arrows require 2 hits to break these. Black walls are the toughest, boasting even more specific damage ranges. One-handeds and spears will deal 8 damage within a range of 1 to 15, 16 to 23 damage will deal 16, and anything past 24 will deal 24 damage. In the case of two-handeds, 1 to 35 damage will deal 16, with anything past 36 destroying the rock. Yes, this does mean it's impossible for two-handed weapons to break rock walls in 2 hits. It's either 1 or 3. Pick your poison. As for bombs and arrows, you get the gist by now. 3 hits for each. With luminescent zonite walls, I couldn't find any unique differences to the first wall, so everything I said to the brown rock wall applies to both of these. Drop tables and list cycles. If you haven't heard of these terms, you probably haven't watched this video. You should watch this video, by the way. It's pretty good. I'm not going to repeat word for word what I said in my wood video, so let me give you an example with the first ore deposit drop table. List cycles here means how many items the game is going to decide to drop. I call it list cycles because, for example, if it lands on 1, it's going to go through the list once and then drop 1 item. But if it lands on 2, it's going to go through the list twice, so you get 2 different results most of the time. If that sounded confusing, that's because I suck at explaining things. That's the best you're gonna get. I'm sorry. Objects can have more than 1 drop table, so here's the ruby drop table. There are only 3 of these in the game, and they're all found on the Great Sky Island. Given the name, you would think they would drop rubies, right? The flint drop table is next. This one, like the ruby drop table, is only found on the Great Sky Island, and there are only 2 of them. This is guaranteed to drop a piece of flint along with these other percentages. So technically it has 2 drop tables, but we'll just ignore that part. Luminous stone deposits are all the same and have no variance. Here's the drop table. Rare ore deposits have a few variants, but let's just start with the default. Since I don't really have much to tell you about these, I'll just tell you that you have a 5 to 14% chance to get a diamond when breaking one of these. Neat. The ruby drop table. There's only a few on the Great Sky Island, and actually have a guaranteed chance to drop a ruby along with their drop table. Now for the hecc drop table. This one is used for that quest near South Akala Stable where you need to break the ore deposit in a single hit. This one has 2 separate drop tables that trigger once broken. And unlike other ore deposits, this one will never respawn, because it's used for a quest. Sad. Zonite. Here are the drops. However, none of the Great Sky Island zonite deposits have this drop table. Instead, they have 3 separate drop tables. Yes, 3. The first one, Zonani Umu 1, has a 100% chance to give 3 to 4 zonite. Zonani Umu 2 gives a guaranteed 2 zonite. And number 4 drops a guaranteed 4 zonite. I don't know where the third drop table went, but maybe Ganon ate it or something. Now, you might be asking, why did they make 3 separate drop tables just for the Great Sky Island zonite? Since this is the tutorial, they likely didn't want to confuse new players by them potentially being able to get large zonite at the start of the game. So they made separate drop tables that only drop zonite. As to why the Great Sky Island uses 3 drop tables instead of 1, I don't know. Anywho, the maximum amount of zonite you can get before leaving the Great Sky Island is 50, in case you were wondering. Now we're on to bosses again. For Taluses, their drop tables trigger every 1/4 of their health depleted, meaning you can get a maximum of 4 drops per Stone Talus. Here are all of the Stone Talus drop rates. Like I explained earlier, Frox's weak points have their own health pool equal to 1/5 of the Frox's total health, so I'll include them with the drop tables, which will only trigger once the ore is broken. We'll finish up with the rock walls, first of which being the brown variant. Now, this may look like some absurdly low drop rates, but hear me out. Taking into consideration the list cycles and adding all of the drop rates together, that's roughly a 5% chance to drop something per rock destroyed, so your chances of getting something can skyrocket when using any sort of bomb. The blue rock wall is also roughly a 5% chance to give something, with the black rock wall, again, being roughly 5%. Luminous stone walls, on the other hand, have a much higher drop rate, along with the Zonite walls, which have the highest drop rate out of any rock wall. I would also like to note that rock walls never respawn. Ever. So once they're gone, they're gone. And yeah, that should be everything about ore deposits, I think, I hope. Thank you to the Tears of the Kingdom data collection and research team for helping me out with this. Their spreadsheet was immensely helpful, and they're very helpful in the Discord, so if you ever have questions, just let them know. Link will be in the description. As shown at the start of the video, a spreadsheet is available in the description if you would like to check it out. Thank you for watching, please subscribe, and have a good time zone. Which was your favorite ore deposit? Remember to leave a comment saying which one was your favorite, and remember to subscribe and smash that like button.